Hey guys, a little bit of a different video here. Of course, you've never seen me in a car before, but I am traveling for the day looking at investment properties around the UK. So not in the office, not able to put out a normal video, but I do think I can get a little video out. Hopefully I can find an internet cafe with a decent upload speed. So I just thought I'd give you my thoughts on this whole saga between Elon Musk and Elizabeth Warren and what's really going on here. Now, just a quick caveat, I have my notes down here on my lap. So if I keep looking down, it's just so that I know what I'm talking about and I can remind myself the points I want to cover. Obviously this isn't ideal for a video. Hopefully the sound isn't awful. I'm really not sure, but let's get right to it. So Elizabeth Warren came out with these tweets. She said, "Let's change the rigged tax code so the person of the year will actually pay taxes and stop freeloading off everyone else." Elon being Elon, he couldn't stay quiet. He had to reply and he said, "If you opened your eyes for 2 seconds, you would realize I pay more taxes than any American in history this year. Don't spend it all at once. Oh wait, you already did. Stop projecting. Elizabeth Warren is a fraud. Her lies about being Native American disqualify her from presidency. You remind me of when I was a kid and my friend's angry mum would just randomly yell at everyone for no reason." So firstly, as I often feel I have to clarify when it comes to any issue with Elon, I'm not a Tesla fanboy. I'm not an Elon Musk fanboy. I'm not a SpaceX fanboy. I don't own any shares in Elon's companies aside from the allocation that I put to the S&P 500. So technically some Tesla, but really not much. So I'm by no means a fanboy. I really don't have a horse in this race, but Elon Musk can be legitimately funny when he isn't being really cringy or having an awful haircut or pumping Dogecoin or just posting crap memes. He is actually sometimes quite funny in that last bit about Elizabeth Warren being the mum who randomly yells at kids for no reason. Yeah, it's funny. Don't call him a Karen for that, please. It's not sexist. Get off your high horse, live a little, enjoy yourself. Come on, don't be so uptight. But now, what is Elizabeth Warren actually talking about? Well, she's talking about how the tax code in the United States is rigged to favour the rich, and she's not wrong. It is rigged to favour the rich, but guess what? Almost all tax codes are rigged to favour the rich because the rich write the tax codes. In particular, they favour capital gains tax. Obviously, it's much cheaper to make money from capital gains than it is from earned income. That's just the way the laws are written. And that favours rich people because rich people have more in investments and in capital and in businesses and things like that. So, of course, if the rates for capital gains are lower than income and poor people have income and rich people have investments, then rich people are going to be taxed less on a relative basis. I'm not 100% sure what Warren is talking about when she calls Elon a freeloader, but I'm assuming it's because he doesn't pay an awful lot of tax and because Tesla takes in a lot of subsidies. But again, Elon doesn't write the laws for taxes, as I just said, but he doesn't write the laws for subsidies either. The US government is the one who wanted to incentivize electric vehicles, so they pay a lot of subsidies for electric vehicles. Elon is not in the wrong to build a company that benefits from that. If he's in the right, if the US government didn't want people taking advantage of their subsidy schemes, then they would get rid of them. They just wouldn't put them into place in the first place. The fact that Elon is building electric cars and getting paid by the government for it is because the government wants him to build electric cars. How on earth people are trying to turn this into some kind of attack on Elon, I don't know, and I'll never understand that. Another thing to take note of is that Elon and Tesla are separate entities. It's a public company. There are millions of Tesla investors, and you can't just equate Elon and Tesla to the same thing. And this is something you see happening a lot on the media recently, particularly on the left. And we see it with companies like Amazon and Jeff Bezos. And in the UK, we saw it over the pandemic with Richard Branson and Virgin. Companies are not people. They are not the same entities. They are not beholden to the same rules. They don't have the same assets. They don't have the same incomes, and you can't equate them because it just isn't that simple. If people hear that one man has a lot of money, they think that their company must make a lot of profit, but that isn't always the case. Or if they think that if a company has a huge market valuation, then the man has loads of cash in the bank, but it just doesn't work like that. And then I also think it's worth mentioning that Elon's right. He will pay ridiculous amounts of tax this year, billions and billions of dollars, more than any other person in history, and he shouldn't be vilified for having even more money than he's paying tax. He's following the rules to a T. He's doing everything perfectly legally, and he shouldn't be vilified at all for following the rules that were set by people like Elizabeth Warren. Now, if that were all there was to the story, then it wouldn't really be much of a story. Elon has arguments with people on Twitter all the time. As I said, he can't keep his mouth shut. He loves to talk back. He loves to provoke people like like Bernie Sanders and things all the time. But it got worse because Elizabeth Warren has been running targeted Facebook ads attacking Elon Musk, and this is where it's just a little bit obsessive. So in the adverts, I'm going to try and put it up here, hopefully I can find it. She says that the adverts claim that he avoids taxes, that he made over $200 billion in the pandemic and is a freeloading billionaire. Now, if we tackle that all bit by bit, first of all, he didn't make $200 billion during the pandemic. Assets that he owned rose in value by $200 billion. Elon should not be attacked for owning shares and basically running a company that's done incredibly well and has seen its valuation soar as a result of that. This is just absurd. Now, here's something that's maybe a little bit negative, but in reality isn't. Elon does avoid taxes, but guess what? So do you and I and everyone else in the world. And there's nothing wrong with avoiding taxes. There is something wrong with evading taxes, but that's not what we're talking about. If you donate to a charity and you claim it back on your income, that reduces your tax bill, and that is avoiding taxes. If you invest into a pension, that is reducing your tax bill, and that is avoiding taxes. There's nothing inherently wrong with these things, but they are avoiding taxes. And yet Elizabeth Warren is here screaming at Elon, claiming that he's avoiding taxes, which, yeah, of course, technically he is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then again, she called him a freeloader, claims that he's not paying taxes at all, which, might be true up until this point, but that's because he didn't have an income. He didn't have taxable events. So of course he's not going to pay taxes, because that's the tax code that people like Elizabeth Warren built. Now that he has sold loads of his shares, he has a taxable event and he will pay billions of dollars in tax. Elon replied to this message with this tweet, and he said, "This is such a deeply messed up lie to the American people. She is the one freeloading off taxpayers, while I'm paying the largest amount of tax of any individual in history. Is Warren really someone we want as a US senator?" And yeah, here's the truth. Politicians are freeloaders. They don't really provide nearly as much as they cost, and especially people like Elizabeth Warren, who find ways to monetarily benefit from their positions of power when they really shouldn't be. This is a really big topic with people like Nancy Pelosi at the moment as well. Now, again, I just want to clarify, I'm not an Elon fanboy. I don't have a poster of him in my bedroom. I don't cream myself over SpaceX videos or Dogecoin or anything like that. And I really don't have a horse in this race at all. I'm not even American. So these tax implications don't affect me at all, to be honest. I think I am pretty unbiased. Obviously, I do in general think that capitalism is good and governments are bad, but that's because it's based on evidence of capitalism being good and governments being bad. Here, I think Senator Warren is way off the ball, and she knows she's off the ball, but she's just doing this to pander to her increasingly left-wing audience, and they love it, so of course she's going to do things like this. Elon is retaliating. He's not making the first strike. He's not going out of his way to attack Senator Warren. This is all coming from her, but obviously it would have been smarter for him PR-wise if he had just kept his mouth shut, but that's not Elon. He's never going to do that, and we shouldn't expect him to do that either. And the day when he does just accept all this criticism and stay quiet is the day I would start to worry for Elon. The real main problem here is that what we see is Elon Musk, one of, if not the best capital allocator in the world, having that role taken away from him. The government is awful at capital allocation. For an example, not the US government, but they are worse at capital allocation, in my opinion, than the UK government. The other year, the UK government spent £30 million building bat bridges. These are bridges to allow bats to walk over roads. Yes, bats which fly are having £30 million spent on them so that they can walk over roads. Utterly ludicrous. Absolutely a waste of money. And yet it was done by the government. You give someone like Elon Musk £30 million to invest in a startup, and in 10 years, it'll be worth £100 billion, and you have created huge amounts of wealth and huge amounts of jobs, whereas the government has just created a bunch of bridges, which, by the way, didn't even work. Of course they didn't work. Sorry, I had to cut that out. I just swore a little bit. Of course they didn't work. They're bats. They fly. They don't need to walk across bloody bridges. Christ almighty. Governments are an organism, and organisms like to grow. I saw it phrased like this on the All In podcast the other day. Brilliant podcast. Check it out. And I can't remember who it was, David Sachs maybe, likened governments to organisms, saying that they always want to grow. No organism wants to wither away and die and shrink into nothing. And it's true, governments get bigger over time. They're always trying to get bigger. And once they get bigger, they never allow those things that allow them to get bigger any smaller, as seen with things like the pandemic. Governments are seizing power and increasing their authority based on this whole emergency pandemic thing. try to make their emergency powers permanent, of course, because they're a government. But the problem is that the government is trying to move into capital allocation, but the government is awful at capital allocation because people know what people want. Governments do not know what people want. This is why communism doesn't work. It's why socialism doesn't work either. It's why capitalism does work, because no one knows what I want more than me. It's like buying Christmas presents. We always get it wrong. If you just give the person the money and let them do it themselves, they will buy things they actually want, and they'll get more for their money. They'll get more utility and everyone's happier. Except instead of giving them money to buy things with taxes, it's the government takes money off people to buy things for them that they didn't even want in the first place. It just doesn't work. Lower taxation, lower government spending is good for people. A perfect example of this is something like SpaceX. With just a couple $1 billion, Elon Musk innovated in a huge way and built a business which is far, far, far more efficient than NASA with a fraction of the money. Jeff Bezos built a $2 trillion company, Amazon, with a $200,000 initial investment. That's something a government is never going to be able to replicate. And if they had taken that $200,000 from Jeff Bezos, that $2 trillion in wealth today would not exist at all. As I've already said, I'm not an Elon fanboy. He's not an engineer. He's not really a scientist. He doesn't code computer. He doesn't build Teslas, and he didn't design the SpaceX rockets either. He's not some secret genius who understands everything and can, create everything. He isn't designing these incredible products himself. He is, however, the best capital allocator in the world. And the US government right now is trying to take that role away from him, and it just doesn't make sense. This is like forcing Usain Bolt to stop running because he's too good. This is like forcing Usain Bolt to stop running because you want to run instead. It just doesn't make sense. Let people work at what they are best at. Elon Musk is the best in the world at capital allocation. Maybe second or third, maybe Bill Gates or maybe Jeff Bezos are up there as well. It's probably Elon, let's face it. $1 trillion company and a $100 billion company. He's at the top of the game. Let him do his work. Let him create wealth. Let him create growth and stimulate the economy and things like that. But of course, all of this is falling on deaf ears. The government isn't going to do that. And they're not going to leave him alone. They're not going to let him innovate and drive innovation and things like that. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. I hope the format of this video wasn't too awful. I hope the sound isn't too bad as well. I have no idea what it's like in this car, but it's probably not great. So sorry. Back to normal videos in no time. I'll be back to my studio with my desk and being able to write things down. Can't wait for it. See you soon. As usual, there will be links down below in the description to the Patreon if you want to join that and join our investors community. It's growing quite well. If you're going to join, then I really suggest you join before January because there's going to be a big announcement coming out in the next few days that you don't want to miss. If you join after January, then you don't benefit from it. So, if you want to join now. There's also a link down below to masterworks.io, a site that allows you to buy fractional shares of art from incredible artists like Banksy. It's a great way to diversify your portfolio with non-risk correlated assets. So check that out if you want. It's free. You can sign up for free. You don't have to buy anything. Just, check it out. See what you like. And the same with BLOCKFI, a crypto lending platform. I keep about $25,000 right now, actually, in stable coins, earning me 9% interest a year, I think it is. Far better than you get from any savings account. So check that out as well. You don't have to sign up. Just have a look. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to spend any money. See what you think. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Stay stoic. Until next time.